Okay.
Great.
Hello and welcome to the Skalny Center for Polish and Central European Studies. My name is Randall Stone. I'm the director of the center, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you three guests who are participating in the Polish Film Festival this week, and also our visiting professor from Poznań University in Poland, Anna Śliwinska, who is going to lead us in a discussion about some of these films. Anna, of course, is a specialist in film studies, teaching a course this semester at the University of Rochester, and so I defer to her, especially here. Anna, please.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to introduce you our guest from Poland, Leszek Bosiewicz, who made a film Scenes from the Warsaw Uprising. Then we've got Janek Komasa here. He made a film Suicide Room, and Arkadiusz Wojnarowski, who was a producer of film Królik, right?
The Path to the Honest.
Yeah, great. So my first question is about your films. I mean, the way how you made it. Why did you choose these subjects? How it was generally? Can we start it from the very beginning?
Nie będę mówił po polsku.
I'll speak Polish.
Ponieważ tak się złożyło, że najlepiej ten język znam.
Because, as it happens, this is the language I know the best.
Film, który tu przywiozłem, to najnowsze jakby moje dzieło, które jest jeszcze, że tak powiem, w rozwoju.
The movie that I came here to present here is my newest piece of work that is still being developed.
Im dłużej robię filmy, tym widzę, że większej ilości wersji można po filmie opowiedzieć.
As long as the longer I am working on movies, the more I realize that there are so many different versions in which I can tell one story.
Dlatego dla mnie to spotkanie, tak jak miałem poprzednio w innych miastach Ameryki, będzie bardzo interesujące.
Which is why this meeting, like other meetings that I had in other cities in America, is going to be very interesting for me.
Ten film opowiada o pewnych epizodach jednego z największych tragicznych wydarzeń w historii XX wieku, to jest Powstania Warszawskiego.
This movie is about different episodes from one of the most tragic periods in Polish history, that is the Warsaw Uprising.
To był czas, kiedy bardzo wielu ludzi zginęło, bardzo wielu ludzi chciało ocalić swoją godność i bardzo wielu ludzi chciało poniżyć innych ludzi.
It was a time when many people died, many people wanted to retain their dignity, and many people wanted to destroy other people.
Oczywiście w tych epizodach, dlatego nazwałem ten film sceny z Powstania Warszawskiego.
This is why I call this movie episodes or scenes from the Warsaw Uprising.
Starałem się dotknąć tych momentów, w których pojedyncze losy ludzkie łączą się z historią.
I wanted to touch on it, the moments when individual people's fates are intertwining with history.
Ponieważ w moim przekonaniu największym dramatem w historii ludzkości dla człowieka
because in my understanding the biggest drama for an individual person
jest zderzenie z historią, to znaczy w jaki sposób człowiek ratuje się przed tak zwanym walcem historii.
Is the clash of individual fate and the history, that is the way in which individuals are trying to save themselves from the kind of tank of history.
Z jednej strony jesteśmy marionetkami w rękach tej wielkiej maszynerii historycznej.
On the one hand, we're just puppets in the great historical machine.
A z drugiej strony, nawet tego nie chcąc, stajemy się ikonami tej historii.
And on the other hand, even though we might not want it, we become icons of the history.
W związku z czym to przedziwne połączenie historii i pojedynczych ludzkich losów jest mi najbliższe od samego początku mojej twórczości.
Which is why this intertwining of individual fates and history is very close to me since the beginning of my work.
Pierwszy film, dlatego chcę jeszcze do tego nawiązać, pierwszy film debiutancki, jaki zrobiłem w życiu, opowiadał o tym, w jaki sposób ratowali się ludzie w obozie zagłady w Auschwitz.
I would like to just refer to my first debut movie in which I was showing how people were trying to save themselves in Auschwitz.
Historia jakby skazała tych ludzi na, że tak powiem, przemielenie, na zniszczenie.
History has given a death sentence to these people. It was to destroy them.
A jednak oni jako pojedyncze jednostki musieli ocalić się jako ludzie, jako osoby, które posiadają swoją godność.
But they still, as individuals, as people, wanted to save themselves and needed to save themselves.
I ten temat jakoś cały czas do mnie powraca z różnych powodów, można było wiele na ten temat mówić.
And this topic is very close to me for very many different reasons, and I could talk about it a lot.
Ale najważniejszą sprawą, która mnie porusza zawsze, to jest to coś, co spod ziemi jak gdyby wydostaje się przed nasze oczy w formie jakby pewnego ducha ludzi.
But what's most important to me is something that comes from, as if from underground, as if a ghost that is coming.
Tak, w związku z czym wszystko, co robię, że tak powiem, w sztuce filmowej,
Which is why everything I do in film
to jest poszukiwanie formy, w jaki sposób te duchy mają się nam przedstawić na ekranie.
is a search for a form which would show these exact ghosts on the screen.
W związku z czym to nie tylko aktor jest w stanie przywołać do życia te duchy,
Which is why it's not only the actor that can bring the ghosts alive,
ale nasza pamięć, nasza wyobraźnia, rekwizyty z przeszłości, właściwie różnego rodzaju obiekty materialne.
but it's also our memory, our fantasy and props and other types of material things.
Dokładnie. I dlatego w mojej niby takiej bardzo poważnej, w sensie tematycznym pracy wciąż na pierwszym miejscu jest forma.
Which is why in my very serious in terms of topic work, form is still on the foreground.
Tak, ponieważ bez formy nie byłbym w stanie opowiedzieć o tym, co się we mnie, samo ze mnie chce wydobyć.
Which is because without the form, I could not express what is it that I'm trying to convey, what is trying to escape me.
Bardzo ciekawy będzie oglądać pan film.
Ja też pierwszy raz zobaczę.
I'm also going to see it for the first time.
A to dlatego, że właśnie zszedłem z maszyny koloringu Wytwórni Filmów Dokumentalnych i Fabularnych w Warszawie i ja go na razie przetransportowałem na taśmę i zobaczymy, co jest na ekranie.
Which is because I just literally finished making this movie, and we're going to see what's going to be seen on the screen in the next days.
Exciting.
Yeah, okay, so now about Suicide Room.
Suicide Room. I started working on Suicide Room in about, I guess, it was the end of my studying at film school, because of course at the end you have to make a diploma movie, and I was being meant to, at first it was my first idea to make a short movie about the guy who sits in his room being shut in through the 30 minutes to show his kind of loneliness and being isolated from the outside world, and to show also with the help of 3D animation how things are changing. For example, the inspiration for that was, there is a movie with Tom Hanks, Castaway, I guess, and Tom Hanks starts to talk to the volleyball, something like this. So, and he gives the volleyball a name. He calls it Williams, something like this. And he talks to it, and suddenly the ball gets its own identity. So therefore, I thought that's the kind of way mind works when someone is isolated and starts to kind of make human out of things. And so that was the first idea, to make a short movie about this, and it would be also cheap, but it would be something which is quite, from my perspective, quite contemporary, in approach, because people get more and more isolated. It's a truism. It's very trivial to say. But at the same time, it's reality, and kind of internet gives you a way to going out without going out to the world. So, and also I started reading a lot about Japanese culture and the way they approach, Japanese people approach society, and they participate in it. And I thought that, and I also realized that somehow Western civilization, our civilization, is taking part in this as well. It's taking some scheme, some ways from Japanese culture. And Japanese culture started to be like an experimental ground for different sort of approaches in modern life, because what became their sort of an experiment 10 years later started to be the same thing in Western communities, and as it comes to, for example, working ethics, that you have to work hard to get, you have to try hard to make it. So the hentai, it's the death in the workplace, and death because of overworking. It was in 1971, I guess, in Tokyo, the first hentai, they called it, because the guy literally sitting by the desk died. And then suicides because of working and overworking, depression, and also it was the first thing Japanese and kind of had to cope with, and it was easily transferred to our culture. Maybe not Polish, but first, because we had to cope with communism first, but European culture, American culture as well. For example, in France Telecom, they had to face about 90 suicides till the day. So 2 or 3 years ago, it was like 20 suicides per year, because of kind of transferring the same model of managing people and the corporation. So that's why I that's my kind of impression of what I'm facing also as a parent, because I have 2 kids, and the kind of being so. The bonds we're in, it started to be like a prison or something, like a sentence you have to go on with, not your life, not your career. You're so, for children, maybe it's too pessimistic, but still I see it. When I was a kid, we were going and play on the playground, and we saw it a lot. You could be with others and stuff, and now it's really my daughter, for example, she doesn't go out anymore. They're all sitting, she as well, unfortunately, but me as an author, we have to kind of I have maybe not higher responsibility, but I have to drag her out from the computer. But she doesn't go out, as well as her peers. They don't go out so often. Basically, they stay at home and work, learn, and then maybe one day they will go out and make a career or something. So that was my from this kind of chaotic impression I came up with the script. Suicide Room, of course, I developed it during the research time. We were trying with my actor, Jacob, and cinematographer Radek. We were going from school to school. We were trying to kind of observe how youngsters are, taking part in these little societies they're creating. We developed a lot of behaviors we didn't know. For example, a lot of big kind of really there. For example, we thought that young people are especially open to experiment with their sexuality, which wasn't so common when we were youngsters, but in different ways. And also it's not being abused by society, because everybody's tried to act as tolerant, and so there's a more perspective to experiment, right? So that's why they are faced, they're trying to experiment. Also, they get easily lost in really, because there's no compass which can drive you the way you want to. So yeah, lack of values, of course, it's like this, but seeking for authority, somebody who would be your master, a teacher. And my main character finds master, teacher in a person whom he doesn't even know exactly, because he has internet, and internet is a big playground for creation and auto creation. So I wanted to also experiment with form. I was looking for other forms rather than being simply dramatic in approach. Like, of course, working with the actors, but I was also very interested, since I was a child, in animation, and pictures and picture culture, visuals. So that's why we use 20 minutes of 3D generated animation in the movie. Yeah, so that's I wanted to really to be my. I didn't know it would be my debut movie, but because I was and I'm still in preparation for Warsaw Uprising movie, for the Warsaw Uprising project, which I'm hopefully finish next year. We'll see. And that's why the Suicide Room was kind of a project which was on the list, but kind of waiting to be made. And it happened to be my debut movie. So happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Yes, so Arku, a few words about your film.
It will be not so easy. Thank you for invitation. It's great to be here. First of all, this is a co-production. It's a Romanian-Polish co-production. It means from the beginning that the film, the story, in my opinion, is universal. And when two countries decided to do one movie about one story, the story should be universal. And this is a universal story about a human being, about a Romanian guy who used to live in Poland and died on hunger strike because was accused for a small thief. And the story is not so tragic. The story is tragic, but the way of storytelling is not so tragic. This is something like a Romanian way of telling the story about death. We did the film which used animation. 95% of the film consists from animations, but the animation here is very innovative because it's something like a collage of all kinds of animation. We use hand-drawn animation, computer 2 and 3D animation, also puppets animation, and in my opinion the animation is the narrator of the film, the third narrator. The first is voiceover, which is featured by a Polish famous actor, Maciej Sztur. Voiceover is talking behind the grave about himself, and this is the first narrator. The second one, which we use, this is something like a more objective, but in my opinion this is the voice of director. And the third one is animation. Animation helps us to understand the story, because the story is complicated, but it helps us. We can see very simple animation when we have to focus on some informations, and very beautiful, colorful when we have a time and possibility to take a little bit artistic way of storytelling of this film. This film had a premiere 1 year ago in Locarno in the main competition. It was something important because it was a special mention of the international film clubs, something like the film lovers loved this film, felt in love in this film. And since Locarno we have been in more than 50, 60 festivals and won more than 30 prizes. Also, very interesting thing is that this is a hybrid of the film. This is a new way of storytelling. It means that we can't say it's documentary, we can't say it's a future film. I call this film as a future-length, mostly animated docu-fiction. And it's great for the film because we are invited from the documentary festivals and the future film festivals and animation film festivals. And this is something innovative because when I remember, I was a fan of Dance with Bashir, Ari Folman or Persepolis, of Mariam Satrapi, and they are very great films. They use one style of animation. We go further and we use all styles of animation and combine this animation with the real fiction, with real documentaries, with the photographs. It's something amazing, and I think you have only one possibility to see this film in Rochester. And it will be great if you will come, and because I'm a Polish producer, I can tell you everything about the film and the history of this film, but also about the case of Claudio Crowley, because I am also the lawyer. And I know really this case. I did a big research, and this is an amazing film, in my opinion, and a very tragic case. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just want to say how pleased we are to have our distinguished guests here for this whole weekend. The films start on Wednesday and they continue throughout the weekend. Check the Skalny Center website for listings and times. They're at the Little Theater. There's also information about all of the films. And after the films, we will have discussions with our guests. So that's your opportunity to come and educate yourselves and ask questions and be part of the film festival. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.